Even Shakespearean losers have the existential blues by Brandy D. Anderson. A look at dramatic existentialism in Tom Stoppard's play Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. This essay was first published in the scholarly journal UPEI Arts Review, spring 2013. Tom Stoppard's characters, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, tackle the principal problems of existentialism as seen in the absurdity of their lives, their incessant questioning, and their constant confusion as to what human life is all about. Stoppard's play and film, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, takes on these very minor characters from Shakespeare's Hamlet and thrusts their existential crises to the forefront, and shows that the question of existence affects everybody equally because it is a widespread condition of humanity. While Hamlet ponders to be or not to be, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern struggle to remember any details of their lives. They cannot recall how they arrived at Elsinore. It is only when they connect with their emotions rather than stimulating their reason that they can recollect anything at all. Rosencrantz questions Guildenstern about where they were in the past, and he demands to know what Guildenstern can remember, but Guildenstern cannot provide an answer until he taps into his feelings rather than his thoughts. Guildenstern realizes, I have no desires, none. And it is that apathy and lack of passion that prompts his memory of being sent for by a messenger. He then observes, scientific approach of the examination of phenomena is a defense against the pure emotion of fear, showing us that the characters themselves realize that emotion is greater and more powerful than any science or any other discipline. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are in constant turmoil as they attempt to figure out who they are. This is a fundamental problem for the pair, and they are not merely postulating the sweeping question of what the value and functionality of humanity is, but they cannot, in fact, remember something as simple but important as their names. They both struggle throughout the narrative to figure out who is who. They are not the only ones who do not know which is which. Every character they encounter is at a loss as to which one of them is Rosencrantz and which is Guildenstern. The Queen and Uncle King of Denmark, the very people who sent for them in the first place, cannot determine which of them is Rosencrantz and which is Guildenstern. Rosencrantz, or it could be Guildenstern, panics at this confusion, and Guildenstern, or Rosencrantz, has to alleviate his fear. This is the beginning of the character's existentialist crises. Rosencrantz heatingly says, I used to remember my name. My own name, and yours, oh yes. There were answers everywhere you looked. There were no questions about it. People knew who I was, and if they didn't, they asked, and I told them. Forgetting their own name signifies the loss of their authenticity. How can they become authentic when they do not even remember their names? Since they cannot recognize themselves, no one else can either. It is this loss of identification that leads to a further disintegration of the meaning of their lives. They have no idea who they are, much less what they are supposed to accomplish. The beginning of the play has the two in a nondescript setting, with nothing solid to anchor them to any particular place. They could be in some sort of purgatory or limbo, or they simply may not be aware enough to know their location. The film version treats its beginning differently and has the two walking against a vast landscape backdrop that emphasizes their insignificance in such a large world. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern live in a world of falsehoods and truths. Guildenstern observes, all your life you live so close to the truth, it becomes a permanent blur in the corner of your eye, and when something nudges it into the outline, it's like being ambushed by a grotesque. The world is full of truths, yet no one sees them because it is more painful to see and recognize the truth than it is to live a life full of falsity and ignorance. Guildenstern says we have no choice, but at least we are presented with alternatives. Those alternatives being the different ways in which to look at life. The two attempt to trick themselves into realizing their identity by releasing cognition and adopting pure instinct. Using a game of questions, they ask each other the main answers they seek, which are, why are they in Elsinore? Where did they come from? Where are they going? And who are they in the first place? They do not find specific answers, but they are at least taking small strides towards illumination. The way Rosencrantz and Guildenstern question their own identities supports scholar Alvarez Maudapour's assertion that the idea of a self, a central existential idea, is derived from the view that there is no fixed essence within man, and man is to create himself, his self, through ceaseless choosing of actions. The way in which human beings reach this self-awareness is the biggest question of all, and it is one that Guildenstern gets close to figuring out when he asserts that it, taking a double meaning of Hamlet's affliction and the more vast question of humanity, is a matter of asking the right questions and giving away as little as we can, since it is all a game. When Guildenstern later claims words are all we have to go on, it brings to mind Heidegger's hermeneutics and the idea of the necessity of phenomenology and possessing proper vocabulary to explain these experiences and how it all fits into the puzzle of human existence. Rosencrantz speaks of feeling like a spectator, and how the only thing that makes it bearable is the irrational belief that somebody interesting will come on in a minute. Yet he never finds that person to make it all bearable. He is becoming aware of his own inactivity in his life. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are only now becoming aware, although it is very possible that they may have possessed a self-awareness before and forgotten it, necessitating the need to start all over again since they have no idea who or what they were previous to this adventure. This question of time is essential to their story. Guildenstern wonders whether time has stopped dead, when the coin lands on heads each time it is tossed for more than 100 consecutive times. Another possibility to conjure is one that echoes Nietzsche's idea of eternal reoccurrence. Guildenstern thinks they may have lived this life before and that they will live it again in the future, since there is a never-ending past and a limitless future that bookends the present. "We have been spinning coins together since this is not the first time we have spun coins," Guildenstern shouts, to which Rosencrantz replies, "Oh no, we've been spinning coins for as long as I remember." The question becomes whether this memory is restricted to the life they are now living, or if it is a memory from a previous life. And if this is the case, then it is safe to assume this memory will occur an infinite amount of times as they continue to relive their lives over and over again. Nihilistic elements appear throughout the story as well. Guildenstern laments, "We've traveled too far, and our momentum has taken over. We move idly towards eternity, without the possibility of reprieve or hope or explanation, because they have realized that everything is pointless, life is absurd. Don't be absurd, easily. And that nothing really matters, since everything is doomed to recur." Although this disparage of a lack of reprieve is in contrast with Nietzsche's suggestion that a person can alter and better his or her eternal recurrence if he or she embodies his or her will to power. Rosencrantz offers a thought-provoking sentiment when he advises, "Be happy. If you're not even happy, what's so good about surviving?" Once again, one of the most elemental questions concerning existential thought is brought up by the characters. Scholar and author Walter Kaufmann speaks of how godless existentialism claims, we are told by a bleak doctrine that proclaims that man is not at home in the world but thrown into it, that he has no divine father and is abandoned to a life of care, anxiety, and failure that will end with death, with nothing after that, which is the point of view taken by Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Guildenstern says, "Wheels have been set in motion, and they have their own pace to which we are condemned. Each move is dictated by the previous one. And nothing they do will matter because," he says, "if we happen to discover, or even suspect, their spontaneity was part of their order, we'd know that we were lost." This has repercussions concerning their search for authenticity. He is saying they are not free to seek their authentic selves and to cultivate their individual identities. Guildenstern also realizes that death is not anything. Death is not. It's the absence of presence, nothing more. Stoppard ends Rosencrantz and Guildenstern's story with their bleak realization that they are doomed to repeat these events for an infinite amount of time. Guildenstern wonders whether they will ever be able to alter their lives and change their eternal recurrence into a more pleasing one. He says, "There must have been a moment at the beginning where we could have said, 'No,' but somehow we missed it." And then he reassures himself that they will know better next time. It is clear they will not know better. They are doomed to repeat this dismal life throughout their own eternal recurrence. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern may serve as a warning to others, prompting readers to be more authentic to themselves in order to live a happier life, or lives, if eternal recurrence is indeed true.